This Late Night Linux Family podcast is made possible by our patrons. Go to latenightlinux.com/support for details of how you can join them. Support us on Patreon for access to ad-free episodes and early releases. That's latenightlinux.com/support. Hello and welcome to episode 341 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 30th of June 2025. I'm Joe, and with me are Phelim.
Still melting.
Graham.
Good evening.
And Will.
Water.
I mentioned a couple of episodes ago that I was going to give KDE another shot, Plasma Desktop. I was going to try and make it as much like XFCE as possible and, potentially maybe move away. And I explained this to my wife and she said, "What, we're going to move away from XFCE?" I said, maybe. Let me do some experiments. And I thought, well, Kubuntu 24.04, that makes sense to me. Rather than, all this fancy new stuff, something nice and solid, an LTS of Ubuntu, that makes the most sense. However, Kubuntu 24.04 is still on Plasma 5, not Plasma 6, so 5.27.12. And there's no Wayland session by default. You have to install it. It's just one command. But that doesn't really fill me with confidence somehow.
Well, it should, though, because it works fine. I was using Wayland on that, no problem.
Right.
Also, coming from XFCE, you could be using KD4 and it'd still be a revolution.
I know, but it surely would make sense to me that all the effort is going into Plasma 6 now in terms of Wayland.
I totally agree with you. 6 is really wonderful experience and worth either holding out for or jumping for.
The thing about Plasma I always found is that once you have the new one, it's hard to look back at the rear one, unless you're one of those Trinity Desktop weirdos who thinks that everything's stopped at KD3. But I find it hard to look back because you see all the niceties that happen that you don't even notice some of them where you go, oh, wow, God, it was different back then. But I can see how Joe might have a bit of an issue with something like Plasma where it moves a bit more frequently. I don't personally see it as a problem, but I could see how you might do that.
Well, I gave Debian Stable a go just to see, and that has 5.27.5, so an older version. But Wayland is default, and that gives me confidence. Okay, if Debian is shipping Wayland by default, then surely it's going to work. And it's got a lovely theme to it. It just looks really nice, and I feel like I wouldn't have to do much to it to make it be what I want. But then I thought, do I really want to have to get used to Debian as well as Plasma?
I don't think there'll be much for you to get used to, though. That's the problem. Or bonus. See, if you use Discover, which I know gets some stick about how it does things, but if you did use Discover, it shouldn't matter what desktop you're sitting underneath.
You want me to use a graphical user interface to install software?
If you want to go mad, I think you should go completely mad.
No.
Just go for it, Joe.
No way. Apt and snap install, thank you very much.
Fine. I mean, apt is apt. I mean, you don't have to worry about it. That's the thing, Yeah, there is zero change there, I think.
Yeah, but then there's just little things like, just extra steps, like I have to add myself to the sudoers file. It's not done by default. And okay, yeah, that's a tiny thing, but there's a load of tiny paper cuts like that on Debian versus an Ubuntu base. Like I can't just type reboot, for example. Just little things like that I have to set up my own aliases for. Ubuntu is a polished Debian as far as I'm concerned. And so that's kind of why I want to stick with it. And again, it's Plasma 5 and not 6. And so, okay, I'm thinking, well, Neon then. KDE Neon. I didn't really want to have to do that, but it seems like the logical choice. Although, are we not worried that Neon might go away soon?
Maybe. The thing is, it hasn't. Therefore, lots of things could happen. If, say, it did go away, your KD directory, home directory, copy that wherever to the new distro, and, it picks it all up again. No problem. You don't have to worry about it. You could use Kinnonite or one of those crazy distros if you really wanted to. Don't look for problems that aren't problems.
Yeah, this reminds me of trying to talk a child into going to school and them coming up with all kinds of good reasons for not going.
Well, this idea of not wanting to use 5 when 6 exists makes me think that maybe I do want the latest and greatest. But I don't want shit to break, is the thing.
Okay, here's the thing. Once an update comes out on KD Neon, you don't have to necessarily install it straight away. You could always wait for say 6.4 came out recently. You wait for 6.4.1 because they come out about 2 weeks afterwards. They have a sort of a set list of when the point releases come out. So just don't go for a 0. Just wait.
The thing is, I'm still unsure what I want to do here, because with XFCE, you basically don't have any choice because there's not really any new versions or features. Like, you just get what you're given. Whereas I could use the older version on Debian or Kubuntu, or I could go for Neon. And I'm just sort of paralyzed by choice here. And before anyone starts saying like, oh, try Fedora or Nix or something, no, like, I definitely do not want to do that. Like, I want to stick to Ubuntu as a base and like maybe Debian like at a push.
If you think realistically, you only have to wait, at most 10 months before you'd get the next LTS, which would be with 6.4. You could try the 5 on the current Kubuntu LTS, and there will be nothing in that you won't like. And I don't know whether there's even going to be anything in 6.4 that you would go, oh, this completely blows it away.
And you reckon that the Wayland situation is going to be fine on Plasma 5?
Yeah, I think so. It was for me. I mean, I'm not doing anything crazy with my. I didn't have any multi monitors after a while. I just had this large one that I've got right now, but I was running it no problem. I've been using it for ages.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much going to use one monitor most of the time, and Intel graphics, and no sort of remote desktop stuff. So I should be fine then, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I would think so. I would say Graham probably has the most strange hardware of the lot.
I mean, what would you do in my position, Graham? What do you advise me to do?
I think what Phelim's saying is right. I think you're worried a bit too much. I mean, maybe, I understand you really want the most stable platform, but it would be a shame to miss out on Plasma 6. I think you should either wait until you've got an LTS Ubuntu for Plasma 6, or really, I'd just go for it now.
Just go for Neon.
Yeah. My hardware isn't that esoteric. But it is an old PC now, 7 or 8 years, with a pretty decent NVIDIA graphics card, I choose to compile the NVIDIA drivers themselves. And I do encounter some problems with Wayland on this NVIDIA hardware. But that's a known issue, and you won't face it with Intel.
But after playing with Plasma for a couple of hours, I turned on my XPS with XFCE, 1080p, 13-inch screen. And it was just like, it's like putting my slippers on. It really was just lovely to go back to it. So that is my challenge. Can I make Plasma, and I suppose Neon it is then, can I make Plasma on Neon act in exactly the same way as XFCE acts for me now?
Well, you have 2 people you can bother with your questions all the time, 24/7 nearly, so don't sit there and then fester away going, it doesn't do this, when it was clearly just a tick box away.
Right. Or I might even have to start editing config files. I'm willing, if I only have to do it once, I'm willing to do that to make it exactly what I want. Because that's the promise of Plasma, and I'm going to test that promise. I'm going to make it exactly what I want.
You shouldn't have to do a config file. There'd be an option for it.
Okay.
In fact, I think oftentimes if you try and make a config file change, it'll get overwritten anyway.
Right.
It's doable. It'll be grand. Challenge accepted.
It's exciting.
Yeah, well, we'll see how long this takes me to get around to and perfect.
One of us.
Or for me to try it and then decide, fuck this shit, I'm sticking with XFCE.
Well, you'll be wrong there.
So you say. So you say. Because I tried this with Gnome, and I got it close, but it was not close enough.
Yeah, I think Gnome have their very opinionated idea where they want to go, and that's their thing. And then if you're happy with that, that's fine. I think KD has no such aspirations.
Because, Will, you did it with Gnome, didn't you? You managed to get it like exactly how you wanted it.
I thought I had, and day to day, yes, it is how I want it. However, I had to get my old laptop out the other day to get some files off of it, and that had XFCE on it. And when I booted it up, I thought the same as you. Oh, that's better. And so, yes, I'm using Gnome all day, every day, and it hasn't crashed. It is stable. Notifications are a bit janky and sometimes don't appear, but it's fine. My machine is very slow, but I'm starting to believe that is not Gnome's fault and that is my laptop's fault. However, I think it would be faster on XFCE, but I do like the fact that I don't have to care about updates and new features and new versions and compatibility with extensions and so on. The other day, I had to install the Logitech mouse driver thing that lets you turn the LEDs off on a Logitech mouse. That needed a Gnome extension to work correctly, and I clicked install and it just worked. And that kind of thing on XFCE does not work. So swings and roundabouts.
Not to mention the extra battery life, which I, in my not so scientific test, found out that Gnome with Wayland, and I'm assuming Plasma with Wayland as well, will be similar. X11 is just dead. Like, we need to move on. Even I need to move on.
Yeah.
And there's only so long I can wait for the XFCE developers. I did talk to someone who is involved in the project, and that person told me that things are progressing. It's not dead. It's going to happen. But, you know, as always is the case with XFCE, it's at its own pace, which is generally relatively calm, shall we say, to be polite. So I'm not sure how long I can wait. It's my sort of plan A is to wait, but I need a plan B. And that's where I think this Plasma thing is going to come in. I may or may not end up switching to it. It's a long-term project. We'll see. Okay, this episode is sponsored by Tailscale. Tailscale is the easiest way to connect devices and services to each other, wherever they are. It's great for companies, and it's great for self-hosters. Loads of the Late Night Linux family hosts use Tailscale because it gives you the power of WireGuard with a simple and quick setup. I got it up and running in a few minutes without having to open any ports. Tailscale lets you connect anything, anywhere. Provide connectivity to any resource for your organization, from dashboards to a Synology NAS or Windows file server, from self-managed DNS servers to software as a service applications. If you want it off the public internet, Tailscale will provide secure access. Tailscale's personal plan will always be free, and you get up to 100 devices and 3 users for free with no credit card required. So support the show and go to tailscale.com/LNL to try Tailscale out today. Or try it at work using the code Linux25 for 3 free months of any Tailscale paid plan, and find out why thousands of companies like Instacart, Hugging Face, and Duolingo have switched to Tailscale. That's code Linux25. Let's do some discoveries. Will, Home Assistant developer environment.
It's been a while since I've had a niche find, and so it's about time to bring one up again. I've been working on some Home Assistant integrations, and the way that I've been doing it for the last year or so is SSHing into my Home Assistant server, copying or SCPing code off my laptop onto that machine, or connecting to it remotely with VS Code and editing the files directly on the machine, then restarting my entire Home Assistant setup in order to try my new code. And that is slow and clunky and really horrible experience. So I read the docs, and would you believe it, that Home Assistant have got a full developer environment available as a Docker container that integrates with VS Code, and you can start up on your machine inside VS Code a full Home Assistant install, which takes seconds to boot because there's nothing in there, basically. Copy your code or mount your code, the directory on your machine where you are editing that code for real, like the Git repo on your machine, mount it into that container, start up Home Assistant and test the code. And if it doesn't work, you do Control-Shift-R and it restarts it and you try it again. You can make those changes in your normal text editor, wherever it is you're doing, restart Home Assistant and test it within seconds. And this has made my life a significant amount better. So if you are in the business of writing Home Assistant integrations, I highly recommend you read the Home Assistant developer environment docs. It is a bit of a swine to get set up. It's not too bad. Like, they give you a UI which will go into VS Code and allow you to get it set up. But some of the config environments, for example, Bluetooth and mapping directories and getting the right permissions on your machine to get access to dbus and stuff like that, is a bit of a faff and not terribly well documented. But it is possible. A bit of Google searching and you'll work it out. So yeah, if this is the sort of thing that you want to do at the weekend, then the dev environment will make your lives a bit easier.
Graham, Xlights.
Yeah, we should have like a category of open source applications that we can't believe have developed to such a level of maturity for such a niche thing. because Xlights is one of those things. It's like Blender for LED light control.
What?
Okay, so this must be a big thing out there. I guess you've got to think of those really exotic Christmas light displays where the whole house and garden are lit up and seem to synchronize across each other or with music or with whatever, because Xlights is the software that does it. It allows you to control lights with industry standard controllers, and I actually have used it. You can build a similar controller with an Arduino and some libraries to some local LEDs.
Is that DMX, Graham?
Yeah, it is DMX, yes.
Oh, no way. Okay,
Yeah.
right. Ooh, I was taking the piss thinking this was a farcical sort of thing, but that's proper.
No, that's exactly it. I didn't mention DMX because I thought I was really going to go down the rabbit hole, but it's graphical. You can also script it, but graphically, you create these groups of lights. You can drop effects to manipulate those groups, things like waves and rainbows, and program your own effects, synchronize it to audio, synchronize it to events, create different kind of pathways for things. And basically, it allows you to orchestrate thousands of lights from a single application. And the fact that something this mature has been around for so long and seems to have so much kind of engagement is remarkable to me. I've only tested it in a limited way to write a review, but I just think things like this existing are amazing.
You know how some projects have like Discord as their, documentation?
Yeah.
These fuckers have got Zoom meeting. And I clicked on it and it wanted to open Zoom. Like, what?
More good news here is that WLED, which I think I've spoken about before, which is an Arduino software which loads on like ESP8266s and so on, supports DMX as a protocol. And so if you were to buy a pretty cheap off-the-shelf set of string of RGB LEDs, you could hook them up to an ESP8266, stick WLED on them, and have a full DMX-compatible controller for pennies. So that and Xlights sounds amazing.
Wow.
Oh, I might actually have to try this for Christmas. I probably should start now.
Yeah.
Given the complexity of all this. But yeah, link it to some synth sounds and some algorithmic music generation.
Oh, God. Fade them out. Fade them out.
Surely you have to get it synced up to XCON and give it to you. And this is related to QLC Plus.
That's right. And a little while ago, I mentioned QLC Plus in the podcast, and QLC is a light mixer basically, but uses DMX. So that if this sounds interesting, but you don't want all the automation and effects, then just a reminder that QLC Plus exists, which is another great open source, mature application for controlling banks of lights. But it lets you do it as you would kind of an audio mixer if you were running a light show or something like that. So I wanted to mention that as well, because it's remarkable that this software exists for me.
And just in case you forget about this, and then get towards Christmas and think, oh, yeah, I want to do that. latenightlinux.com/discoveries. It'll probably be there, thanks to Matt. So, yeah, shout out for him again. Phelim, Graham fixed your Telegram.
He sure did. So I was using Telegram 5.13 from Snap because I just feel for a unknown binary, it'd be nicer if it was contained somewhat. And yes, I could use the Flatpaks, but I already was well in because I use a lot of CLI apps and things like that, like the linters and code checkers that come from Snap, that I didn't want to have Flatpak just for one application. And it started breaking once it went to the 5.15. So the bug on Telegram desktop on GitHub is 29425. And Graham found a fantastic fix for it, which is you prepend the environment variables with qt_qpa_platform equals xcb. I have no idea what they mean, but it works. And hooray, it all works again. What does it mean, Graham?
Well, when reading up about the problem, it's KDE Wayland that's causing the problem, and they said just to revert to the binary distribution of Telegram, which neither of us are willing to do.
No.
So there are other similar packages that have similar kind of problems, and I just thought I would try it. It's basically a kind of X-Windows technology that Qt provides an environment variable for working around some problems with it in Wayland, which is what that environment variable does for Qt apps, and Telegram is one of those. So, yeah, it worked. I'm sorry for not writing it up officially anywhere, but I told Phelim.
Well, I've added you as the person who solved it in that bug entry as the last entry on it. So anybody who stumbles across it can give you props if they want to.
They'll probably complain about something.
Probably.
Will, FAF.
FAF is a tool that I've been looking for a long time, and apparently lots of these have existed, but I was unaware of any of them until friend of the show, Martin Wimpress, told me about FAF, which is something that he's been working on. It's a pull request commenter that works automatically using a local AI model, which I know will appeal to everybody here. But if you can get Llama running on your network, it works over HTTP. And so, it can, in theory, be hosted anywhere, but it's your instance of Llama. It will look at the diffs and work out what's changed and write your pull request for you in a conventional commit standard. So it will be easy for both machines and humans to read. And this is just phenomenal. This is something that will save a lot of time. Generally, there are two types of pull request. There's ones that are standards compliant and detail exactly what's happened succinctly. And there are ones that say fixed stuff. And this takes away that variability. It means that every time you can comment what changed, what the purpose of it was, and you don't have to do any of the work. And it's all been put together by Martin. So this is very exciting. Now, full disclosure, I haven't got it running yet because I haven't got a local Llama running, but I'm working on that. I think that this will be a useful tool, not only for open source developers, but for teams of people. You could take away the idea of having to spend 10 minutes writing a pull request. You could have FAF do it for you better than you could do it, and you don't have to lift a finger. Perfect.
To quote Phelim, cool.
But that's not what your processor will be while you're doing it.
This is a fair point.
Do you also need one of those like NVIDIA graphics cards that's not really a graphics card units that he has, that I looked up once and then died of a minor heart attack when I saw the price? So I was like, fucking hell.
I actually did talk to Martin about his LLM bullshit recently, and he told me he's got this really low wattage graphics card. I can't remember if it's like an Intel Arc or... Anyway, it's very low wattage and just sits in a server in his house or office or something. And so when he's doing stuff like this, he's not using ridiculous amounts of GPU power. I mean, I don't know about the training in the first place, but actually running this doesn't use that much, I don't think. But it's still AI bullshit. And we should beat you up, Will, for even mentioning it. Okay, this episode is sponsored by 1Password. If you're a security or IT professional, you've got a mountain of assets to protect. Devices, identities, and applications which can add up to a mountain of security risks. Fortunately, you can conquer that mountain with 1Password Extended Access Management. Over half of IT pros say securing SaaS apps is their biggest challenge. Thankfully, Trellica by 1Password can discover and secure access to all your apps, managed or not. Trellica by 1Password inventories every app in use at your company. Then pre-populated app profiles assess SaaS risks, letting you manage access, optimize spend, and enforce security best practices across every app your employees use. Manage shadow IT, securely onboard and offboard employees, and meet compliance goals. Trellica by 1Password provides a complete solution for SaaS access governance, and it's just one of the ways that Extended Access Management helps teams strengthen compliance and security. 1Password's award-winning password manager is trusted by millions of users and over 150,000 businesses, from IBM to Slack. And now they're securing more than just passwords with 1Password Extended Access Management. Plus, 1Password is ISO 27001 certified. With regular third-party audits, 1Password exceeds the standards set by various authorities and is a leader in security. Take the first step to better security for your team by securing credentials and protecting every application, even unmanaged shadow IT. Learn more at onepassword.com/late-night-linux. That's onepassword.com/late-night-linux, all lowercase. Phelim, privacy please, probably privacy please.
Yeah, probably. I would say privacy please, but there are wrong people in the world. But yes, this is a plugin which essentially does a redirector for various services, which you can enable various ones as the ones you want. So say you are given a link to a YouTube video, it will then auto-convert that to an Invidious link. Twitter one, it'll convert to Knitter, although these days, good luck with that. I'm pretty sure that won't work. But Reddit will go to RedLib. You know, the best that can be done with what is not being blocked at the time. But it has an awful lot of them. And he does make the case of, you know, it'll be available as an add-on soon. It is actually available right now. So you can go get it straight away from, say, Firefox add-ons. And it is quite good. I had a bit of a hassle with trying to run it on a few things because the problem is a lot of sites now are starting to do trickery to stop you using any form of API or copying. So
yeah, they're getting wise to this, aren't they? Like,
yeah, they are. It's a bit annoying, like, but it's a nice project. I like the idea of it. Let's put it that way. I do also like my YouTube suggestions because I've cultivated them through a terrible history of idleness at work. So I don't like seeing the back of that. But you can switch it off for one website, so that's quite good as well.
But there always seems to be a new way to look at stuff. Like, you know, there's always a new way to look at Reddit or, you know, Knitter for Twitter and stuff like that. And presumably this is going to get kept up to date. So you don't have to remember all those things as one gets shut down and then the next one springs up. Hopefully this will get updated.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, it's that thing of, you know, more people using it, the more people find these things, the quicker it gets updated too. And yes, it is available for Chrome too, before anybody thinks that it's only Firefox. So it's a simple, inverted commas, project, and it's a nice idea. So if you fancy it, might be a way to avoid the bubbles.
Did I mishear you there, Phelim, when you said that you have YouTube suggestions enabled, and I presume you allow YouTube to keep your viewing history?
I do.
And you don't mind Google having this data?
Oh, I mean, I do, but they do suggest the right stuff to me, and I get very little bad suggestions.
You mean the convenience works out?
Yes. I see where this is going. I'm being stitched up, as Boris Johnson would say, that wonderful prime minister you guys had. I'm being stiffed up.
When the herd moves, fade him.
Well, to be honest, the point of YouTube is fairly lame if you don't get any suggestions, because otherwise you end up with the shite, you know, popular videos that people do. It's like, I don't give a fuck about Mr. Beast or whatever the fuck his name is. And
I don't have it enabled. I actually type in a search or something that I'd like to see so that I'm not tempted.
But I don't know what I want to see,
Well, then
Graham.
turn it off.
I'm not all-knowing.
How do you discover cool new stuff then?
Well, I don't.
Next, you'll be telling me you don't get loads of stuff about plumbers, thanks to Will suggested about a month ago, which irritates me every time it comes out, but I then watch the video anyway.
But surely someone who's interested in discovering new music and stuff, like, it'd just be the perfect recommendation engine.
No, I get all... I mean, now I'm familiar with a lot of people like Alex Ball, but I read blogs and read things that people write that recommend things. But yeah, I've never had my viewing history turned on.
All right. Have you heard of Jacob Collier, Graham?
I don't know the name.
Well, you would know what he does. He conducts the audience like a choir.
Oh, I do know who you mean. Yeah, I do know who you mean. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would not have known who he was if it wasn't for YouTube. And I strongly recommend checking him out because it's amazing. Like, he tells one part of the audience to sing one note, the middle of the audience to sing another note.
Yeah.
And then the other side to do one. And then he kind of tells them to go up and down.
That's right.
And he just makes this beautiful music with just a choir of amateurs.
I remember seeing him do it with Chris Martin. That's about your thing, isn't it, Joe?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have actually seen that one, and it is embarrassingly quite good.
Yeah.
But it's better when he's not with the Coldplay fella.
I was going to say, is that the Coldplay fella? I'm not sure.
It is, yes.
Actually, yeah, it's very good.
Fix You is the best Coldplay song.
Oh, is it? Is it though?
Yes.
Speed of Sound's pretty good. Even my metal ears quite enjoy that.
Well, and the first one, the first big one, Yellow, is quite good. You know, they do have some good songs, and I will never say, oh, I'm not listening to that band because they're X, Y, and Z. I treat each piece of music on its own merits as just a stereo file, just coming into my ears, like Charlie FM.
What is it with your war on mono?
This podcast's in mono. What can I say? Anyway, I don't know how we got into all of that, but yes, privacy or privacy please sounds pretty cool to me. Right, well, we better get out of here then. We'll be back next week when it'll probably be news and stuff, but we'll have to see. Until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Phelim.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.